The question that silenced Washington. Picture this: AIPAC congressional hearing room, cameras rolling, dozens of reporters with pens poised, and then, cutting through political theater like a knife, comes a single question that makes everyone freeze. Who did she meet with? What did she sign? Or did she just wear 3 outfits 3 times in 2 days for Instagram? The woman asking wasn't shouting. She wasn't grandstanding. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett simply looked up from her files and asked a question that would shake the entire political establishment. But to understand why this moment mattered so much, we need to go back 48 hours. The trip that started it all. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem had just returned from Israel. The media called it a high-level diplomatic mission to strengthen U.S.-Israel security ties. Conservative outlets praised her as the bold new face of female leadership. Social media nicknamed her Ice Barbie, a name that stuck after she posed in a shimmering white dress and immigration raid, looking more like a magazine cover than a government official. This trip to Israel came at a serious time. 2 Israeli embassy staff had been assassinated in D.C., shaking the political world. Conservatives demanded a strong response. Send someone to Israel, show solidarity, send a message to hostile forces. But they didn't send the Secretary of State. They didn't send the National Security Advisor. They sent Kristi Noem, the woman once known for sparking controversy over her red boots at a military parade. For 2 days, Noem toured Israel. She visited the Western Wall, prayed at the Temple Mount, posed with soldiers. The photos were stunning. Professional lighting, perfect angles, cinematic shots that went viral instantly. Her Instagram account exploded with images. Flowing white gowns, hands clasped in prayer, standing strong with allies. But here's what didn't happen. No joint statements with Israeli officials. No published meeting minutes. No bilateral agreements. No press conferences with international media. Just a 4K TikTok video caption, standing strong for our allies. The silent observer. Back in Washington, Jasmine Crockett watched quietly. No mocking tweets, no public statements. When reporters asked about Noem's trip, she gave one brief reply. I've been reviewing documents on previous national security missions. Most people didn't understand what that meant. But those who knew Crockett understood she doesn't speak for show. She speaks when she's ready. Before Congress. Crockett was a civil rights attorney who represented the deported, the wrongfully detained, the forgotten. She wasn't on TV every week making noise. But when she spoke, it was at the right time in the right place with devastating precision. What most people didn't know was that Crockett and Noem had history. They'd faced off before on live television during a 2023 debate about women in leadership. Noem had cut Crockett off mid-sentence with a remark that set social media on fire. You don't need reasoning. You just need to stand there. The right skin color, the right gender at the right time. Crockett hadn't responded then. She'd simply smiled, nodded, and closed the program with, I'm not silent because I'm weak. I'm silent because sometimes the truth speaks for itself. Nearly a year later, in that hearing room, it seemed the truth had finally come due. The moment of reckoning. The hearing began exactly as expected. Republican Representative Chapman opened with glowing praise. I don't think anyone could better embody American female leadership than Secretary Noem. Beyond papers and seals, she delivered a message. America stands with Israel, not through words, but through presence. Light applause. Nodding heads. Noem smiled at just the right moment. The cameras caught the tiny Star of David pinned to her lapel. Everything felt scripted, controlled. Then the chair handed the floor to a Democrat. When Jasmine Crockett echoed across the hall, the room seemed to freeze. She picked up the microphone, adjusted it slightly, unhurried. I have 3 questions for Secretary Noem. 1. Who did you officially meet with on the Israeli side? 2. Was any memorandum signed? 3. Are there any records submitted to Congress? Noem tilted her head with a syrupy smile. We believe that in diplomacy, some things matter more than documents. Presence, for example. Crockett's expression didn't change. She nodded slightly, then pulled 3 full-color reports from her folder. I have the list of your official activities as released by the Israeli side. No press conferences, No bilateral meetings. No records filed. But 12 photographs, all from your verified Instagram account, each with a different look. The room held its breath. I have no issue with fashion, but this is the Department of Homeland Security, not Paris Fashion Week. The laughter that erupted wasn't light or amused. It was the kind of laugh that says something's been wrong this whole time and someone finally said it. The data doesn't lie. What happened next was devastating in its simplicity. Crockett didn't raise her voice or make personal attacks. She just presented facts. The duty of the Secretary of Homeland Security is not to represent national sentiment or spread personal inspiration, but to ensure every policy is grounded in data, dialogue, and concrete commitments. The screen behind her lit up with a comparison chart. 10 diplomatic trips by Noem's 3 predecessors. Each trip listed meetings with foreign officials, signed security agreements, time in closed-door talks, press briefings. Then came the final entry. Kristi, Noem, Israel, 2 days. Meetings, 0. Agreements, 0. Private talks, 0. Press briefings, 0. Social media photos, 12. No one said a word. Crockett looked directly at Noem, her gaze softer now. I'm not against inspiration. I don't dismiss symbolism. But if all we leave behind are beautiful photos and hashtags, that's not politics. That's personal branding on the public dime. The unexpected voice. Just as Noem's lips parted to respond, a chair scraped back in the gallery. Everyone turned. An older black woman had risen to her feet, silver hair, wearing a faded military-issued coat with a U.S. Border Patrol badge on her chest. Her gaze was steady, not angry, not accusing, just deeply sad. I'm sorry I'm not a member of Congress, but I served nearly 20 years on the southern border. The chair hesitated, but didn't interrupt. I used to believe in Kristi, Noem. I used to think she was strong. But if a female secretary leaves behind nothing but images instead of actions, I fear my daughter and granddaughter working in national security will bear the consequences of what no one dares to name. The room fell silent. Crockett said nothing. She didn't applaud or react. She simply bowed her head toward the woman. Thank you for standing where only titles were supposed to speak. It's because of those without titles that this country stays safe. It was a climax not because of volume, but because there was nothing left to defend. The aftermath. Within minutes of the hearing's end, hashtag 12 photos no action exploded across social media. The conservative response was swift but short-lived, because then the leaked email surfaced from someone inside Noem's own image strategy team. We were explicitly instructed not to prioritize international press. No bilateral meetings. Main goal: produce a media package showing female leadership in crisis with good lighting and curated backdrops. Focus on outfits. Emphasize peace-themed color schemes. The internet erupted. Even longtime Republican Senator Wallace spoke up. Maybe we've confused feminism with imagery. Maybe we've forgotten the public doesn't need icons. They need workers. The power of silence. Through it all, Jasmine Crockett remained quiet. No interviews, no victory laps. Just one text-only post on a black background at 10:13 p.m. Truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs to stand firm. No tags, no images, no hashtags. In 6 hours, it was shared over 3 million times. That simple phrase began appearing on library walls, lecture halls, law school bulletin boards across the country. Students started to understand, you don't have to be loud to be heard. Sometimes you just need to stand there, not move, and they'll listen. The real winner. Did Jasmine Crockett win? She didn't need to, because she never entered a contest over right and wrong. She simply asked the questions that, if left unasked, would make people stop believing politics is meant to serve them. A week later, a photograph quietly appeared on walls across law offices and universities. It showed the silver-haired veteran standing in the chamber, her right hand resting on the wooden desk, looking straight ahead to where Crockett sat. The caption read, "Some don't need a microphone because their silence alone quiets the whole room." The lasting impact. Today, lawmakers are reconsidering how public image is managed during official duties. A new proposal, requires all high-level diplomatic trips to include at least one publicly disclosed bilateral meeting. The author? Representative Jasmine Crockett. But perhaps the most powerful moment happened quietly. A phone-recorded video of Crockett walking past high school students touring the Capitol. A young black girl softly called out, "Congresswoman Crockett, thank you." Crockett turned back, placed a hand on her chest, and smiled. "It's not me. It's the people who dare to stand, even once." The lesson? Not everyone who speaks loudest is right. Some use the spotlight to shine on themselves, while others use it to expose what's been hidden in the dark. When you can't speak louder, speak truer. With reason, preparation, calm, and questions that force the entire system to pause and answer. Because truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs to stand firm.